way past time.
How expensive do I have to be?
Need I spell it out before you get it, baby?
Show me your soul,
And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. But you walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight. Ooh,
show me your soul,
baby, I'll show you mine.
show me your soul.
Can't you see it's way past time?
How expensive do I have to be?
Need I spell it out before you get it, baby?
Show me your soul,
And honey, I'll show you mine.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Thursday. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris, and today is the 28th day of the month. We are inching our way to the end of January. How are you as far as lining up or aligning with your goals so far for this year? I say goals. I don't really put too much stock into New Year's resolutions because those don't usually work. At least they didn't for me. But goals are important. And one of my goals for the year 2021 is to be as proactive as possible wherein it pertains to my health. I'm 58 years old. I've probably got more life behind me than in front of me. But every day that is in front of me, I want to be as healthy and pain-free as possible. How about you? Right? That's the bell of purpose. The bell of purpose means that when you hear it ring, something out there is worthy of putting a little bit of it in your pocket at least and taking it home with you. So throw some hearts on the screen when you hear the bell ring. Means that you put a comment up that's like, whoa. Get your questions together today because you have an opportunity to get an entire plethora of information regarding chronic pain, pain at all, and how to say goodbye to it. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All gone. Without tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of prescription pill bottles or whatever it is, just prescriptions. You know, I remember when I first entered the wellness business when I was an event planner, I did that as a side gig and was very successful with it. Transformed my body, and the bodies of a few other people. But a lot of it was mindset and understanding. You know, if the promise is seek and you shall find. And I remember I used to say to people, I'd go to their homes, especially women, and they would have all kinds of fingernail polishes and perfumes and night creams and all these things on their vanity. And I would tell them, you know, why is it so important that you've made the decision to do better with your health and wellness? Because one day you see all these, I call them vanity bottles. If you don't, one day you'll trade in all of these for a counter full of prescription bottles. You need this to balance that. And now there's side effects. Now you need this. And there's a better way today. There's always been a better way. But you know, big pharma, insurance, and all the different things that groom us that there's only one way and it's this way. No, not the case. We're here today. He was here a few weeks ago. He's back because he has a wonderful event coming up that I think all of us can benefit greatly from. And I speak of Dr. Hal Blattman of Blattman Health and Wellness in Cincinnati, Ohio, and also New York. And he's here today. The great event coming up. We'll show you something. Well, you know what? Why don't I just show you now, and then we'll do it again at the bottom of the hour. But here's what we're going to talk about today, how you can become a part of this life-changing event coming up on February 6th. Take a look.
Welcome to the Blattman Health and Wellness Center. In order for your fingers to do this really fast, you have to hold your wrist really still. talking about how do we make pain go away.
Well, here he is. Caution. Didn't do the countdown thing this time. How are you, Dr. Hal? Welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I'm doing really well. It's a beautiful day.
It is. It really is. I was out feeding the squirrels a minute ago, and that's why I'm still in all this. I just said, leave it on. And I want to get right into it. We just saw the clip from this event that you have coming up, this workshop, February 6th. And tell us why, how you got to the crossroad of making the eradication of pain your primary message.
You know, I've seen people suffer for many years, and I too had a lot of pain. I used to have neck and shoulder pain. I've suffered from TMJ syndrome and learned how to help people with that. And then lower back pain. I actually played golf for 25 years with lower back pain on every single swing till I learned how to make the pain go away. I didn't give up the golf. And I found out that
So you're still a swinger?
I'm still a swinger. Absolutely right.
You heard it here. Okay. Okay. Now, the TMJ, is that thing in the jaw?
It is that thing in the jaw,
You know,
part
my
of
husband
face pain
has
and headaches. Yeah.
And,
You know, when
yeah,
we were kids, I had braces. And the braces that I wore, I had teeth that came out a little too far in the front and had to pull all that back. Well, the techniques they used for us in the 70s and 60s
cranking,
predisposed you to TMJ syndrome. So when I was in my 30s, it came up for me like it did for a lot of other people who went through the same kind of headgear and process in their teenage years. And, you know, in the 1980s, there were very few people who had much of an understanding of TMJ syndrome, much less headaches and so forth and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And a dentist new in town introduced himself to me. This was before it came up with any kind of clicking or symptoms. And so I'd already started to learn about it. And then the clicks came, and he and I learned how to make TMJ syndrome better in a whole lot of people. And it's worked for a lot of people since then. So it's been amazing. And, you know, the people who do this best as doctors or practitioners learned a lot of it on their own bodies. Because unless you feel it, and people in pain are right.
Mm-hmm.
Doc, how do you know what I feel like?
Right.
Right? Like, you don't know my pain. And that's true. I don't know your pain, but I would certainly go head to head with many people and tell you that I don't want to have this challenge of my pain's been worse than yours, but I do really understand it.
Right.
I do understand where it comes from. Your headache doesn't come from your head, and how do you make it go away?
That's my thing. I'm getting ready to do. You're getting
Go for it.
I need to get Dr. Hal. He's going to be a TV doctor. You know that, right? I predicted. I think I will be watching you on TV one day. By the way, I said it first. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I want you guys to drop into the comments. Good morning, Ryan Hunt, Robert Brooker, Andrea, and all the rest of you. Hi, love you guys. Thanks for being here today. This is going to be quite informative. So go ahead and share this out right now. Invite somebody, especially somebody you know that may be dealing with some chronic pain, and that's almost everybody nowadays. And especially so, a lot of us haven't been able to be as active as we usually are. You know, we're laying around, and all of a sudden it's like, man, every other week, every other day, it's something different. But I want you guys to drop into the comments. What is the very first thing? What is your go-to when you feel an oncoming headache? What do you do? I'm interested because I know what we do in this house. We reach for a little thing we call them blue and reds. We get from Walgreens. It's like just a headache pill or whatever. And it's the first thing we do. And Dr. Hal, why is it then, if pain doesn't originate where we think it is coming from, we're groomed pretty much to believe that's the case from when we're small children. When something hurts, mommy says, point to where it hurts. Right?
Right.
Mommy acts accordingly, but that may not be where it originates, right or wrong, even in small children.
Correct. Absolutely.
Talk about that.
Well, you know, pain doesn't come from where you feel it. And when we go to figure out where does pain come from, we work by 5 rules that I made up called the Blattman 5 Rules of CSI for Pain. How do you figure out who done it? So rule number 1, you can't believe the pain comes from where you feel it. And that's contrary to what we start with day 1. Your headache doesn't come from your head. The pain in your left arm could be your heart attack. It's not coming from your left arm. And I'd suggest that the pain in your knee joint doesn't come from the joint. Some of it might, but talk to your friends who've had their knee replaced
That's
and the
me.
knee still hurts and there's no knee there. So the pain's not coming from the joint. So it's not like what we were taught. Rule number 2, we spend a lot of time talking about what does the pain feel like, and truth behold, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Our brain can't tell the difference between numbness, tingling, burning, itch, tickle, sharp, dull, achy, stabbing, even sexual arousal. You don't even know. Like, you go in the ring with Mike Tyson, he bites your ear off, that hurts. You get in the couch with somebody you really care about and they touch the same piece of ear, you have a totally different reaction in
Or
your
as
biology,
he
right?
seems to be, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Because Mike
So,
Tyson,
and
he
it's the
did the
same.
ear. Mike Tyson swallowed that piece of ear he bit off, by the way.
Oh, I don't know if I want to hear that.
I know I made that up. So
Okay.
okay. So last time you were here, we talked about a lot of these. Today, I want to go take a few turns if we could.
Sure.
Okay, because so help people understand this. Like I'm out working in the yard, and I haven't done much, or let's say current situation, shoveling. We had to do a lot of that this past weekend here in Chicago. A lot of snow fell, and people may not have done anything up to that point. They go out the next day, they go, "Oh, my back hurts from shoveling."
Right.
Is that the case? I mean, there are things that you do right then. If you hit your elbow on something and it bruises and it's sore, isn't the pain coming from right there?
Yes. That pain is coming from the tissue reaction of what you did when you bruised your elbow.
Okay, so
And the pain
what
in
is
your
this
lower
pain?
back.
Yeah, so but this pain that you're talking about coming from somewhere else, is there an entry point? Is it different? Is there any note in that aria that is different than the song we hear when we do something immediately? How do we ascertain which is which?
It all comes down to what can you believe, right?
Okay,
You
go ahead.
have all this information, your MRI scan, your x-ray, the doctor who tells you it's your disc bulge, and the person who tells you it's your SI joint ligaments, and it goes on and on. But the only thing you can really believe is where specifically are you tender? And if you think you have pain in your lower back, because it feels like the pain's in your lower back, why would you not think that? Touch the muscles in your lower back, and then touch the muscles in your upper, outer butt, right underneath the hip bone up on top, not the one down below.
Mhm.
And you'll find that your butt most likely is more tender than your lower back. And that's my point. You can only believe where you're tender. And the things that are specifically tender either represent the places where your fascia that goes through your muscles and holds it together is kinked and tied in a knot, or where you hold together and your fascia weaves to the cover over your skeleton or bones and you've injured it.
Mhm.
And these injuries started when you were a child. So you pushed on the outside of your hips, you'll find that that's really tender. Your doctor calls that a bursitis, but that's not really a bursitis. That's the tendon injury that caused the kinks and knots in your butt muscles that make your brain think you have pain in your lower back.
Okay.
So as long as your butt is more tender than your lower back, what you need to do is learn how to make your butt not so tender. Unkink that fascia in your buttocks, and you'll find as quickly as you do that, the pain in your lower back that you thought you had isn't really there anymore.
Hmm. Okay. So let's talk about this. So, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. A year ago, just this week, it was a year ago. So I was down here on the couch. Well, I got up and down. I never slept down here. I did really well with my recovery, but I still have a PT that comes. My guy comes to the house every other Tuesday, and he does a scraping thing on around the front and the back and all the sides of my, they put this like cocoa butter stuff on and they use this thing and it's that crunchy stuff. Talk about that and I mean it. I feel so much better immediately afterwards,
Right.
especially so the next day. And so this myofat, and they had me on those rollers and things even before I had my surgery because I had pre PT and post PT. So talk about that. A lot of people see people like even in the clip, the myofascia, the person's rolling on it. What is that actually doing, and what is that crunchy stuff that is in there?
The crunchy stuff is the result of your injuries through your lifetime that have kinked these fascia strings and cords within your muscles and within your body. And what this therapist person is working on is trying to unkink these fascia cords and strings using your skin as a handle. And as quickly as you unkink that fascia, the pain you thought you had will be gone. And you're finding that's exactly true.
That is.
And so what we need to teach people is, how do you find where your injuries are? How do you unkink the fascia that's causing your pain? And how do you change your food? Because the reason those kinks are so amplified and so in your face and kind of lit up like you plugged them in is because of the inflammatory food that you eat that glues your fascia together.
Okay.
Because the reaction of your immune system is pretty implicit in all of this.
Okay.
So we have to show people all of that. And that's why it takes several hours in a day. But at the end of that day, you'll really have a good handle on how to make the pain go away.
Okay, so I'm picturing like spider webs. That's what I'm saying, crisscrossing all around. Like
Picture a fishnet stocking, a fishnet piece of clothing, and all that fishnet and all those strings are going through your muscles. Take a steak.
Can I wait? Is it okay if I picture a stiletto on the foot of that fishnet stocking?
It will help cut some of the fascia strings if you put it in the right place, and that may not be so helpful for the pain.
Hey, Freaky Hal. All right. A little freaky in all of us. So
I didn't mean that to be freaky.
I know, but hey.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Dr. Hal, before we get too far off that point, let's talk about food for a second. When you say inflammatory foods, and that's important to me right now because I have an appointment coming up. I have to go twice to be tested by an allergist for something that could be in my food that they can't find anything for. It's been like a year, and a friend of mine said I went to a holistic person and they removed something from my diet, and I haven't had the problem ever since. So when you say, name some of the foods that people might not be aware are inflammatory foods?
Number one on the list is bread flour.
All kinds of bread, because I heard get 15
flour,
grain and
flour from the wheat plant and its relatives, even spelt, may cause even the tiniest amount in cross-contamination from a saltine cracker that was left on the breadboard as you prepared your salad. That could be enough to make you in pain for 4 weeks.
A saltine cracker.
A crumb of a saltine cracker
Crumb of it
can cause your lower back pain to amplify for 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, so we got flour. Keep going.
Sugar.
Okay, now you're going too far, Dr. Hal.
A teaspoon of sugar will make a patient with rheumatoid arthritis have their pain ramped up for about 4 weeks.
Does that include Truvia and sugar substitutes? And does it include natural sugar?
They're not going to cause the pain as much.
So processed sugar.
Just the sugar, sucrose, sugar.
Okay.
The stevia and monk fruit don't quite do that, but they're also not so innocent. I have a diabetic patient whose sugars in the morning came down from 140 to 100, and all he did was take the stevia out of his tea that he drank all day long. So I can't tell you that those so-called natural sweeteners are really safe, but I haven't seen them cause pain.
Okay.
Like sugar does.
But if sugar and flour, these things, I'm going back to what we were taught as children about. So the 4 food groups, when they say you need this much of this much of that, and this much of this. Now, we already know doctors getting their MDs don't have to take any nutrition classes, right?
Sadly enough, that's true.
No nutrition classes. So let's get that out of the way. So what do we believe? Is that still the case? You need this amount of this amount of that. And if we can't, shouldn't they have redone those food groups and let people know about this? What's going on?
A lot of the food group things have changed, but you listen to people who tell you to drink milk. The people who tell you to do that are the ones who make cows.
Who make cows?
Yeah, make cows. They have
them.
cows and they make them.
I was like,
they make
cows and
cows make more cows, and then more cows make more milk, and those are the people that advertise for milk.
Okay.
But If you have headaches and you think your pain and your headache comes from your head, touch your neck, touch your upper shoulders. Aren't you really tender right back here? Aren't some of these muscles in your neck really tender? And aren't these muscles across your upper shoulder, aren't they really tender? And as long as those muscles are tender, and you can't blame your headaches on much of anything else, whether the muscles in your head or face or jaw, your headache doesn't come from your brain. Your brain doesn't hurt. It's not the problem of the neurologist. Your headache doesn't come from your head. Your headache comes from the things that are tender. And if you did the same things to these muscles that unkink them, that you are finding works for, with your therapist for your other pains, you'll watch your headaches go away as quickly as you can figure out how to do that.
We're going to come back to that one. Andrea has a question for you. She says, I have a weird question. No questions are weird. Well,
this is a fascinating question, Andrea. And the answer is that I need to talk about cats. It's a little bit of a walk around the block, but in order to explain your question, I need to talk about making a bed. Like, Lauren, have you ever made a bed with satin or silk sheets?
Why, yes, I have, doctor.
So now, if the bed has a wrinkle in the middle, you can take a corner and give it a little tug, and the whole sheet complex flattens out, right?
Correct.
Now, what if you had flannel sheets? You couldn't pull on a corner and flatten them out. You'd have to, fluff the bed, right?
Or do this kind of thing.
Exactly. Now, have you ever had a cat?
Got two of them right over there.
All right. Now, where is the cat when you change the sheets and make the bed?
Always on top of the bed trying to...
Exactly. Helping you out.
Yeah.
And so if you had flannel sheets, you'd never be able to fluff them and take out the wrinkles until you get the cat off the bed.
Right.
Okay. So the sheets on the bed are analogous to the fascia that goes through your entire body. And the cat sitting on top of them is analogous to the scar. And all of the fascia in your body draws to that scar. And you feel that scar in your abdomen and your C-section from your head to your toes until the fascia that binds you got to get the cat off the bed.
So is this scar tissue? Is this the same as what they tell us? Oh, that's just scar tissue.
It's more the way your body healed and the kinks in the fascia strings and cords that go through your skin are all through your body. It's not just localized to this place under your belly. And so there's actually an injection technique that we do. Just injecting Novocaine into the scar. It's a simple process, takes about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe less depending how long your scar is, could take 5 minutes. And what happens is you get up off the table as soon as this procedure is done, and you stand up and you go, wow, for the first time since my C-section, I don't feel this pull underneath my belly button. And usually it's one and done. Sometimes you need to do it a second time, but this is such a remarkable thing. It's actually one of the most amazing things I've seen in medicine is scar injections, and something that every family practice doc should be doing to most every post-surgical patient a few weeks after the surgery when the skin is healed. Everybody should just do that as a routine. I've seen bunion scar injections take away a headache because the fascia goes all through the body and draws to that scar on the toe. It's amazing. And sometimes the scar is tender, sometimes it's not. And it's such a benign procedure, we really shouldn't be spending a whole lot of time thinking about it. It's something we should just do.
I'm touching a scar right now on my knee. See, now, Andrea, you're on it today, girl. She's got another question. And this is true. When you feel, she goes, what is it when we say, the weather is changing through the pain in your scar or your joint? You go, oh, yep, rains are coming. And this, right. And you feel it. So what is that? That's a great question, Andrea.
I will say categorically that if you can feel rain pain, weather-related pain, an increase in your pain with a barometric change, that's an indication that you've eaten something your body did not want you to eat in the last 6 weeks. And when your food is clean enough and non-inflammatory to your fascia, and you don't touch anything that your body would send you to your room for, so to speak, in 6 weeks, you wake up, you won't know the weather until you look out the window. Your body won't tell you anymore.
Oh, okay.
So do you remember Mirror, Mirror on the Wall?
Yeah, I did it just a few minutes ago, and you should
Well,
have
there
heard
you go.
what it said.
If you feel rain pain and you think your food is clean, your body just told you it's not.
Okay. Um, right. Because my grandmother used to predict the weather better than the two people on television.
I used to be able to tell the weather till I took all the food inflammatory to my fascia out of my diet.
Okay, how did you do that? I mean, what can you eat? Flour and sugar are in almost everything. So what do you have
There's,
left?
there's
Water,
no flour in a steak.
huh?
There's no flour in a steak.
Well, but what about those? I've heard so many things about meat. I got it written down to answer.
There's no flour in green vegetables.
Huh?
There's
Well,
no
that's true.
flour in green vegetables.
Yeah.
All
Well, what
right.
about
So,
what we need in those four food groups? It says you got to have your you know you got dairy. What are the others? Meat.
I had a patient come to me the other day, and this exemplifies the point. And I said, those potatoes, you can't eat a potato. And she goes, my dietitian for my diabetes told me that I can have mashed potatoes. Now she keeps her mashed potatoes in a box on top of the refrigerator because they're instant mashed potatoes. But that doesn't matter to my point. Instant or real. I said, well, your doctor or your, nutritionist tells you can eat a potato, knock yourself out. But I'm going to tell you, you have a teaspoon of those potatoes, your back is going to hurt for 4 days. And your pain medicine isn't going to work for a week.
Wow.
Go figure it out.
Okay, so is this the same thing when you say get the flour out? Is that why some people are gluten free?
Hopefully, and actually most of us need to be gluten free, whether you feel the pain or not. Gluten's not good for our species, especially the bread flour grown in our country. Not labeled organic is not our friend.
Okay, so if we eat organic, is that better? I mean, you saying we can't have pizza anymore? No fresh baked bread, rolls, biscuits.
It's interesting. The people in England would tell you that what we have here is not bread. When bread is made, it's made in such a way that you give it a couple different times to rise, right?
Right.
Well, that eats up the sugar that's used to feed the yeast to make it rise. In our country, bread isn't left to rise. It's made in one process as it goes down the line. Still has a lot of sugar in it that never gets eaten. And so you get to eat that sugar. There's people who wouldn't call what we call bread really bread.
Mm-hmm.
And then our flour has glyphosate and Roundup in it. Not really our friend.
Sure, McQueen says she would starve to death.
Yeah?
I feel you, girl. I feel you. Well, Hal, what about Dr. Hal? When I'm talking about the gluten free and flour and all of this stuff. So
Actually, she's right. If we can talk about that for a second.
what gluten about?
She's not the one who's going to starve to death. It's what's inside her that's going to starve to death. And that's part of her objective if she figures this out. Let's talk about that for a second. People have food cravings, right?
Okay.
So what are cravings all about? And the question and the answer that I come up with is that you are not the only one living in your body. And as long as you run your body philosophically and politically as a democracy, then all of the critters who live inside your body, in addition to you, also vote for your food. And there's more of them than there are of you. So you can get all down the buffet line, put all the rabbit food on your tray, and get to the register and take out your wallet, and the critters in your body go, excuse me, what do you think you're doing? Mm-hmm. Cheesecake. Go back and get the cheesecake and get it right now. And you'll get out of line, go back and get the cheesecake. And that will continue to go on until you change your political philosophy and run your body as a benevolent dictatorship. You look at the mirror every morning and say, I love me, so that you know inside that you are worth fixing and you have that level of care for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decide who in your body besides you is going to eat today, and stop feeding the opposition. And what happens politically when your opposition doesn't get fed? They die. And as soon as they die or go to jail, just look at the political things around our world,
Mm-hmm.
they stop voting. It takes 2 weeks for them to die, and your cravings go away. And you can look at that box of Oreos on top of the stove and never touch it.
You're
If you
right.
open it and you eat the first one, you're going to finish the box. But you never had the strength to not open it before. And as soon as your critters stop voting, as soon as the guys who love the sugary foods pass on, then your cravings are a very
That's
different issue.
I like that because it works. Because I have this thing I do every Halloween season. Love candy corn. I do, and those little orange pumpkin things,
Mhm.
And I used to say I'm not going to eat these during the season of Halloween. And you'd go places and people have them in bowls in the doctor's office, their place. And I take a little here, a little there, a little there. Next thing you know, I've eaten like 10 bags by the time. So what I started doing was I'd buy myself a bag right at the beginning, as soon as they put them on the shelves in the grocery store, and sit there and gorge on them, eat the whole thing, and never touch them again. I could walk past them over and over and over. And so I guess maybe I had tricked myself into getting it in one big thing instead of the installment plan. I was eating it on layaway. You know what I mean? A little here, a little there. But I want to ask you about this one. Now, this may seem, we're going to get this one, then we're going to go to commercial and come back and answer some more questions. But this may sound kind of gross, but I want to know because you hear all these different stories about what a healthy poop looks like.
Oh, well, a healthy poop,
Because isn't that a big indicator of what's happened with what you've
it
eaten?
is.
And
It is.
so, okay, talk about that if you can.
So it shouldn't be hard. It should come out relatively easily. It should almost think it's its own idea. You shouldn't have to work for it. It should break up when it hits the water. It shouldn't stay as a really tight formed thing. And
Oh,
it should pretty much disintegrate in the water. Feel like it's formed, but not be so. And that is a healthier bowel movement.
okay. All right. Now, have you heard of this thing called it's something plaque that's
Mm.
inside of our intestines and stuff? Let's talk about that for a second. I've seen stuff where they say, just like our pipes in our kitchen and in our house, you have to put Drano to remove stuff that builds up in there. Talk about how some of these foods, these inflammatory foods, do they contribute to clogging up the pipeline? And because digestion plays a big point, even if you're eating right, if you're eating the right things, could there still be things in us from before we were converted? And
Yeah.
how do we get rid of it?
Well, a lot of people do a bowel cleanse for that. They take a bunch of supplements that help fiber and get these things out of your body. And if people have eaten a lot of these kinds of foods through their life, a lot of times the walls of their colon, the stuff is stuck to the wall. And the things on the inside that are floating through can't absorb through a wall when stuff is stuck to the wall.
Okay.
You wash all that out when you get a colonoscopy and do that prep. You should be able to wash that out twice a day when you have your bowel movements if you're healthy. It should just float on through.
How many times a day should a healthy person have a bowel movement?
As many times a day as you eat. So if you have 3 meals a day, you should have 3 bowel movements a day. If you have 1 bowel movement a week, you are pretty super constipated.
But is it wrong to have one a day at the same time? I mean, I'm like clockwork. I don't know about you guys, but
No, it's not wrong. There's not a right and a wrong. You can't punish your body, or your body's already being punished for some of the things that you've
so
done.
why is it my body wanting to have a bowel movement after every time I eat? What's stopping that? What's that all about?
Things don't move through you as easily and as quickly as they perhaps should. One of the things to look at is your transit time. How long is your food in your body from the time it goes through your mouth to the time it comes out the other end? That should be somewhere between 7, 8, and 12 hours.
And if it's not happening like that,
then
what?
things are going a little slow. And if it happens faster than that, then things are going a little fast. If you want to find your transit time, roast or pan some beets, right? Just saute some beets.
Okay.
And when you wake up the next morning, your poop from dinner should be red. When the beets get through, whatever comes out the other end is going to show beet color, and
Right.
you'll know your transit time.
Well, I mean, I only have one a day, so
Well, is what you ate tonight coming out tomorrow or coming out the day after?
ew.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
That's what transit time's all about.
All right. What a great time to go.
You brought it up.
I know, but because
Okay.
I want to know you hear, because we hear so many things and we take them at face value, and I
Mm.
believe that we're grooming ourselves to self not diagnose. All these things lead to when our body is, our body doesn't have mouths. Hey, you out there, and we don't have glass bodies where I can look at you and go, "Ooh, Doctor Hal, did you know what was going? See what's going on around your kidney?"
Mm-hmm.
If we, wouldn't that be a scary world if we could see?
But it does have an interesting language to speak.
I know. That's
If
what
you
I'm
wake up in the morning with pain you didn't have last night when you went to bed, and you don't remember falling out of bed and getting hurt, your body sent you to your room for something you ate last night.
Mm.
You wake up with a stiff neck, it wasn't the window. You don't sleep that wrong unless you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It wasn't the pillow. It was what you ate the night before.
Mm.
And your fascia glued together overnight and you woke up with a stiff neck. And wasn't your doctor or therapist wonderful because they made your pinched nerve go away in 3 weeks? And I'm going to suggest that the reaction that tightened you up and glued you together from your food lasts 3 weeks. And your therapist didn't make a whole lot of difference except for touch and comfort.
When we come back, I want to ask some questions about how much, what made you go and get all this advanced training in nutrition? Why is that a qualifying question when seeking a primary care physician? And other questions to help us understand how we have more control than we give ourselves credit for, how to make pain go away. We'll be right back. Don't you go away.
Welcome to the Blattman Health and Wellness Center. In order for your fingers to do this really fast, you have to hold your wrist really still. We should be talking about how do we make pain go away.
Good morning and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. We're in the last leg of today's interview with Dr. Hal Blattman, who is on his way back in. And I want to say thank you to the sponsors today. which is killfootclothing.com. Get over and check out their site, all veteran owned and operated. And then Blattman Health and Wellness, who is here with us today, Dr. Hal Blattman. Tell us about this event. And I want to ask, before we get into the event, what's it mean when, because my husband wakes up often and says, oh, I woke up with a headache. I have too. What is that? Does that mean we ate something the night before?
Yes, it does. Yes, it totally does. You wake up in the morning and you go through your morning, and around 10 o'clock in the morning, you pick up a piece of Kleenex from the floor and your back goes out. That's most likely also last night's food, because the Kleenex should never have done that to you. And the disc you find on your MRI has probably been there for a while.
Okay, so tell us about February 6th. What's going on?
So, we've decided, and I've been teaching people and doctors for many, many years how to help your patients get out of pain, how to help you as the patient get out of pain.
Right.
And doctors are really slow to catch on. Have you ever found that?
Yes.
You can teach a few at a time, but they've been so overshadowed by everything they've been taught, that really the answer is another pill and another procedure.
Amen.
And they're not taught how to touch. And you can't find this on an MRI. You can't find it on a CT scan. It doesn't show up on an X-ray. The person who looks at your X-ray of your lower back and says you have a disc out, you can't see a disc on an X-ray. You need an MRI or a CT scan to see that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You can't see a disc on an X-ray.
Okay.
Anybody who tells you you can, I'm sorry. That's just, goofy.
Right.
And so, doctors are taught a different way. We're not taught how to touch. We're taught how to give you a prescription. We're taught how to do how to do a test and write for a test to give you a prescription. And when we talk about pain, the world thinks that if your pain is there for 3 to 6 months, it turns into chronic pain and can never go away.
Right.
And now you have to make the brain stupid, the nervous system not work, kill the nerves, ablate them, epidural steroids, all that kind of stuff. And none of that, very little of it, is really the answer. What needs to happen is the cords and strings of your fascia from injuries way back to your childhood even need to go under your radar. And your injuries need to be 99% ignorable instead of in your face. And as fast as you do that, the pain goes away. So, I had a woman, I did a Zoom visit to a woman several hours away from me, and she has pain in her feet for 20 years. Never had any surgery, but lives close enough to Manhattan that she has available the finest healthcare in the world and the finest thoughts about orthotics and on. And she's tried them over 20 years, still has pain in her feet. She ends up hooked up with me. And in the process of an hour and a half Zoom call, I teach her and show her. She's the one touching her body. I just show her where to touch. And she finds the pain and she finds her injuries. And then I show her what to do to unkink all that. We have an appointment 3 weeks later, and she says, the pain in my feet is gone. After 20 years, it's gone. I did what you told me to do. I changed enough of my food to make a difference. And then my friends invited me on a hike. And I could never sit for more than 15 minutes without getting up, putting weight on my feet so that the cramps and pain would go away. It took an hour and a half to get to the hike. She lives in a place that takes an hour and a half to get to a hike.
Wow.
And then she had to carry more than she thought, and the hike was further to get to what they wanted to see than she expected. And by the time she got back to the car, her feet were in pain. And she sat down in the back seat, did what I taught her how to do, and she says in 15 minutes all the pain was gone, and I'm thinking I could run again, is what she told me. Yeah. Well, you can do the same thing with your back pain, with your headaches, with your carpal tunnel syndrome. And so I decided, if I really want to change how people get the answer, I should be delivering the answer to people.
Okay, Dr. Hal.
So if you want, as a do-it-yourselfer, to make your pain go away, for heaven's sakes, come learn how.
Some people have had pain so long they can't believe that it could go away. They've just accepted it.
Most people. They've been told for so long, that the pain in their lower back is their disc and they're this and they're that. And it's not true.
Now, at the event on February 6th, your pain can go away. You're going to take people through a list of alternative options. One of them being massage. So, is massage something you get on a regular basis, or just when you're all stiff or something?
I'm going to teach people how to massage themselves, how to use tools so you can get to massage the muscles in your back that you can't reach, how to take your hand to the muscles you can reach, and physically force your fascia to unkink. And as fast as you do that, your pain changes.
Wow.
And if your pain doesn't respond, it's because your food needs to change. And you're gluing yourself together, and you can't do from the outside unless something lets go from the inside. So this is a formula for everything from headaches to foot pain. It's all based on touch. You can help your child with growing pains. Shouldn't hurt that much to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And you can help your child. You can help your husband, your wife, your father, your mother, your friend. If you're an athletic trainer, you can help the person in your service that you're taking through exercise. They get a kink, you'd know how to make it go away and how to find it and how to help them through that so they get right back on the equipment the next day.
So what about this? Let's use your woman on the hike, for example. So she does this technique. Now she has a follow-up appointment or whatever, say next month with her primary care or the person, her orthopedic person, whoever's giving her all the medicines and stuff, and it's really not helping. And she says, guess what happened? I went on a hike and blah, blah, blah. And then I used this acupressure technique, and my pain went away in 15 minutes. So, and I've been doing it consistently. So I don't think I need this whatever pill or several, because they usually come in, they're like gangs. They travel in packs. So what do we do if we are getting the relief we need and wish from these techniques, but then we have a primary care person, well, but don't stop taking your, because they don't understand how it's working, but they want us to keep taking the pills. What does a person do then? Do they keep doing what works and relieves the pain, or do they listen to the person that keeps giving them the pills to pop?
No, that answer is pretty simple to me. You don't have to pop the pills anymore. They don't make any difference. And except now they make you drowsy and make your brain not work and make you tired and make you forgetful. So just stop taking them. As nobody forces you to take the pill.
Right.
Just because you have a prescription in your hand doesn't mean you need to cash it in, pick it up, or even take what's on it. The pain drugs don't make you better. They make your brain and nervous system not work so you can't tell what's going on.
Masking.
Exactly. It's not like you're taking a blood pressure pill that your life might depend on, or diabetes medicine to keep you from a crisis.
Sure.
This is just pain. And it hasn't gotten better in all this time, and now it is, and it didn't get better because you took the medicine. The medicine doesn't make it go away. When you get epidural steroids for your lower back pain, and 3 months later the pain comes back, I'm going to suggest that the reason they work is they're the only drugs strong enough to stop the inflammatory reaction that causes your pain that's coming from the food you shouldn't be eating. And the steroid is enough to calm that down for a period of time. If you keep eating the food, it's going to come back, and then you go get another epidural steroid injection. Welcome to the circus. Wouldn't you like a way out?
What about ergonomics?
Pardon?
Ergonomics.
Ergonomics are,
What is that?
how do you make the parts that are fragile in your body or less resilient in your body not have to handle the stress that makes them painful. Yeah. And ergonomics is a way to hold your body, hold the tool, position yourself so that your muscles are a better mechanical advantage and don't have to work so hard. But that doesn't make your injuries go away. It doesn't change the process in your body. It just changes that you're not making your body so angry anymore by doing things it doesn't like to do.
Right. It's
Yeah.
going to tell you something.
It's great. We've been, I have 2 years of orthopedic surgery in my background. I have been an ergonomist. I've helped companies set up ergonomic surveillance programs. I do all that as part of my practice. But And changing your ergonomics is great. You're less tired, your body's less stressed.
See?
But if you make your injury go away, or if you make your injury healed enough and you undo the kinks in your fascia, not enough to make it perfect. You know, there's places in your body that are tender that are not in your awareness, right? You ignore them.
Because we've gotten
All you need is these things that are causing your pain to also be just as ignorable. So you don't need to be 100% healed. You need to be 99% ignorable everywhere.
Got it. So the last few minutes we have, can you walk us through the day, February 6th, this
Yes.
great event? Your pain can go away. What can people expect as we move through the day? Because it's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., correct? Eastern?
Yes. And it takes a while to get a complete package and really understand how to make your pain go away.
Okay.
And you can come back to it. If you can't sit there that long and your day is broken up, you have a recording to listen to.
Oh,
And the recording will always be there. And you can come back and listen and show it to your friends as many times as you need to. So we're going to talk about how's your body put together. Those injuries that cause your lower back pain, they started when you were a child, jumping down the steps, jumping out of trees. And if you're a person with a lot of lower back pain, you probably led the other kids jumping off the roof. There you go. Some people just followed, some people just watched, but a lot of people led. So, you know, the injuries come from that. And then after lunch, because you can't do it before lunch, we're going to talk about food, the science behind inflammatory food, and what do you really need to stay away from. There's no perfect diet for anyone. There's all kinds of different names, but what all the diets that help have in common is they avoid the foods that cause inflammation. And if you just know that list, you can eat everything else. And if you need to do the testing like you're talking about, that comes after the main list is gone, or you find yourself testing to all kinds of things and making yourself goofy.
In 2 minutes, can you tell us a little bit about cupping? I'm familiar with it. I've never experienced it, but my niece, who's an acupuncturist, does it, and she kind of told me about it, stagnant blood and whatnot.
So let me finish one, and I'll get right to that.
Okay.
Through the day, we're going to cover how do you make your headache go away, neck and shoulder pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, lower back pain, calf cramps, and foot pain.
Foot pain.
So besides the science of our anatomy, the science of toxicology and food, we're going to teach you how to make those parts of pain in your body go away. And cupping is a way to put a suction cup on your body and have it separate your fascia strings so that they can adjust themselves underneath the cup. And we'll show a little bit about that. So people who are more fragile and need to start with something more gentle have another path. Not everybody can get their hands into their body on day one. Some people are too tender to that, so too tender for that. So we'll show the beginner, so to speak, or the person who's really fragile, where do you start?
Yeah, because I knew a lady once when I was a kid. She was on my paper route, and I remember when I used to go there to collect, if you just, one day I was handing her something and I bumped her knuckle. She had arthritis, and she burst into tears because just that was so painful. I'll never forget it. And I was like, how does she do it? So it's just, and that's, a lot of that could have been avoided, I believe, if you would have known some of these things. A lot of the pain that we live with and make ourselves get used to. When I had my knee replaced a year ago, when they went in, they said it was one of the worst cases they ever had. They said, but here's the good news. Your recovery is going to be a piece of cake because you have grown so used to this pain level. The pain you're going to feel post-op isn't going to be anything compared to what you've grown to be able to handle. But it doesn't make it right. You know what I'm saying? But it was just shocking to me that because I didn't think I had a high pain threshold, but I groomed myself to apparently.
Pain threshold, I think, is a fallacy. Pain threshold is a fallacy.
Okay.
If you were in Dustin Hoffman in the movie Marathon Man, somebody comes at your front tooth with a drill bit, I'm out of there.
I know that's right.
There's other places you can push on my body that aren't so tender, and you can push as hard as you want. And there's places in my body I don't want you to touch. So different parts have different thresholds, so to speak.
Okay.
So I don't know that
And
a lot of that turns
well,
out to be
they pointed that thing on the wall. Where's your pain? The smiley face chart.
right. Exactly. And you know, if a doctor ever looks at me with a straight face and says, this is the worst case he's ever seen, I'm out of there. There's two reasons to say that. One is showboating. If the doctor's a showboater, I don't want to listen to anything else he has to say. And the second thing is, if I'm the worst case you've ever seen, then you don't know enough to treat me. And I need to find somebody who looks at that and goes, hey, I do this all the time. Not a problem.
Well, that's a good way to end it. Dr. Hal Blattman of Blattman Health and Wellness, you see it on your screen now. Head over to the website and check out more about this great event, February 6th. Your pain can go away, because I don't want to hear it. Don't come crying to me 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 years from now. We talk about, oh, my feet, my back, my elbow, my neck. You can do something about it. Show up February 6th and learn, and then you can do better. Dr. Hal, thank you so much. Come back again and let us know what's going on and how we can do better. We look forward to seeing you on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox soon. So thank you,
Lauren.
Really, I really appreciate this. This is great intel, great content, and it's for all of us, and we can take it and do better. Share this broadcast out with anyone you know that could benefit, which is everyone. Okay. And best of luck on the 6th of February. I hope you sell out. And because everybody should be running to get some of this information. So
absolutely.
Be blessed, Dr. Hal, and we'll see you soon.
Have a nice day. Thank you, Lauren.
You too. Everybody, I want to thank you for showing up today and being a part of my life and allowing me into yours. Here this year, it is Show Me Your Soul year. And thank you to Dr. Hal Blattman of Blattman Health and Wellness for showing his soul to us today. I'll see you back here tomorrow when John McCaskill will be my guest. And what a great story this guy has. I'll meet you out on the front porch. There we go at 8 o'clock Central tomorrow morning, God willing. Don't you dare miss it. I'll see you then. Get out in the world and be the blessing you want to see in the world. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Show me your soul.
Baby, I'll show you mine.
Show me your soul.
Honey, it's way past time.
How expensive do I have to be?
Need I spell it out before you get it, baby?
Show me your soul.
And honey, I'll show